Texas defeats Wyoming, 31-10, moves up to number 3 in the AP polls here for this week. Was it the cleanest game by the Longhorns? Absolutely not. Was it a win? Yes. And seeing how this college football season has been pretty crazy here lately, especially just in regards to just how certain teams have looked. Florida State going against BC, Alabama going against South Florida. Just a lot of funny ball going on. Iowa State losing against a team that wasn't D1 or basically a team that wasn't Power 5. There's a lot of crazy ball out here. So for Texas to come out with a W, that is encouraging, but it was not our best game. Matter of fact, it was a C+ game. But folks, first off, Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner, man. If you like the content that's coming to you on this channel, like, comment, subscribe, share. Helps me grow the channel a lot. And also, folks, if you're listening to this on a streaming podcast platform, whether it is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Helps me grow the channel a lot. But folks, like we were just saying just a minute ago, man, is Texas got the W. 3-0. First time being 3-0 since 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So kudos to Texas for that. Also, Texas played a pretty clean game from the defensive side of the ball. But look, folks, I will warn you, every now and then, it's like I've been doing these stats now for 4 or 5 years now, and it's always just one game, folks, that the stats that I get never justify what's on the field. It's kind of freaky weird how things happen. But folks, let's go ahead and talk about some things about this game that, I kind of want to bring up. The penalties from the offensive side of the ball, we had none on the offensive line. We had 2 false starts during this game. None against Bama, but 2 here at home. So kind of weird. We had drops, man. We had some drops. Jonte dropped the ball. Jordan Whittington dropped the ball. Who else dropped the ball? Who else? Was it 80? It wasn't 80 Mitchell. But folks, I will get into that once we get into the stats. But we had some drop balls today. He had a fumble. I think the first fumble that we lost this year, from Jaden Blue. Also, folks, CJ Baxter didn't play in this game. So we had a stable of running backs that featured Jonathan Brooks, Keelan Robinson, and Jaden Blue. And also Savion Red came in, like on the Wildcat formation. Man, Brooks, you're that dude. But we'll look at Brooks' stats here later on as well. Defense played outstanding. At first, the defensive line and just the defense as a whole did not come out with the rigor and just the anticipation, and I thought they should. Just a little bit slow when they first came in. Gave up a big run there in the first quarter. They gave up some runs pretty much in this game. I was very surprised. They didn't stop the run completely in this game, but they did a good job of it. The passing game, they allowed a couple plays, not much, but this was Wyoming's second-string quarterback. Defense held their own pretty much for the most part of the game. They did allow them to move the ball. Defense kind of stopped them pretty good when it came to, in the 30s and the 20s area. They kind of stopped them there pretty good. But I'm not going to lie. Wyoming was able to move the ball kind of how they wanted to. In the third quarter, Wyoming had a drive that pretty much lasted 7 or 8 minutes of the quarter. The defense could not get off the field. So that kind of justifies the score that you're going to see here. They were a very efficient offense there in that third quarter, which led them to tie the game up, and also take a lot of time off the clock, but we'll look at that here in the stats. But overall, Texas gets a W. This team, I love this team. You guys know I'm a Texas grad, right? Man, we are consistently inconsistent sometimes. Now, one thing I will say, I don't know if they were I didn't see many deep shots this game at all, if any. And so I don't know if Texas was pulling back on the reins, but they got to be more efficient. Quinn has to be just a little bit more efficient on the passing. There were a couple plays where X was running wild across. I think he was going to the right side of the field. He was wide open. Quinn dropped the ball, but the ball was a little too high for X. If X catches that ball, he's probably still running in Austin right now. Talking about X, man, what a game from him. His speed just kind of showed off. just an outstanding game. But folks, let's go ahead and take a look into these stats, man.
This episode is brought to you by BetUS.com. Go to BetUS.com and get yourselves a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code NinosCorner at BetUS.com. Folks, go download that BetUS.com app from your favorite Apple phone or Android phone and get yourselves a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code NinosCorner.
All right, folks, here we go. Back to the site, man. Go to NinosCornerSports.com. You'll see the stats here. We'll look at let's go to the stats tab here for analysis. We're going to look at the NCN offense number, which was, like I said, the numbers were a little bit kind of weird for this game. It's showing that this was our second most efficient game here in the year, which I will say it was more efficient than Rice, possibly, as far as the offense side of the ball. But pretty consistent to the Rice game. Our SPR, folks, is our successful play rate. We're at 44%. You kind of want that number to be around like the 50% range. And folks, when like I say a successful play in nature, that's on first down, getting half the yardage needed on first down. On second down, getting 70% of that yardage. And on third and fourth down, getting 100% of that yardage needed to get a first down. Now, just checking this game out against Wyoming, a 63.15, which is really good for an offense. I'll tell you, it's kind of weird. Texas opening up there in the second half, and I think that's what kind of boosts this number up. But my first half numbers for Texas were extremely low, but it got compounded there, in the second half, basically primarily in the fourth quarter because Texas kind of outsnapped, those folks in Wyoming and just had a better overall second half from the offense side of the ball. But the total yardage, folks, I had 326. We had 3 touchdowns, so 2 passing and 1 rushing from Quinn. Also, tackles for loss, only had 1 tackle for loss, which was really good. 1 tackle for loss allowed from the offensive line is really good. We only sacked 1 time. We had 1 turnover, folks, and that was the fumble from Jaden Blue. And we had 3 penalties on the offense, 1 being the first play of the game. It was a false start. We had a false start also later on in the game as well. So those were 2 out of those 3 penalties. But overall, pretty clean game in the offense. Quinn just has to be a little bit more efficient and just has to be able to see the field a little bit better. But I'll tell you what, when Quinn got that rushing touchdown, you can see everything start to open up for him. You can tell he was, just extremely excited about getting that, and he was getting his team rallied up. So that was really good to see Quinn kind of get into that mindset. But as far as passing the ball, got to be a little bit more efficient. X had a ball where he was wide open. Quinn has to hit that. And I think that was on the 3rd down too as well. So those are things that we got to do, things that we got to have here as a Texas offense. But here for the season, Texas has an NCN offensive score of 54.61. The average score, in the NCAA, from year to year, just kind of ranges between 47 and 50 points. So it showed that this offense is humming above average, which is what you want. This is extremely high for this game. I was not expecting for this game a 63.15. This is extremely high for this game. I thought this score would have probably been around the 50 range, but the way that the metrics are set up, it bumped up a lot there in that fourth quarter, in that third quarter, just due to the touchdowns that they got. So very just very interested about that. Now, folks, also for the season, 11 touchdowns, 9 tackles for loss. So that's an average of 3 per game. So, honestly, kind of right on par as far as the tackles for loss for a season. Which is about 36 for a 12-game season. This was 13 games at 38. That was 12 games at 36. So almost right on par with what we had here over the past 2 years. Only allowed 3 sacks so far this year. So this is really encouraging because we're in a pace now for only 12 sacks this year, which is outstanding. So only allowing 3 sacks this year is awesome. You got to get that number down. Hopefully less than 10 would be awesome. And only 3 turnovers so far this game. So we're in a pace now for 12 turnovers for the season, which is also pretty damn good. If those numbers stick and are the same, everything's good here at Texas. And also, folks, we had 10 penalties here for the season so far. So, basically, folks, right on par too. So around 3, like per game, 3 times 12 is 36. So we're right on par. But look, folks, that was NCN score for the offense. Excuse me. Now I'm going to go look at the defense side of the ball. And seeing the defense side of the ball, you're going to see that this was lower than I thought it was going to be. The average score is around 45 points. Now, the defense had a 42.62, which was extremely low. This was really weird. Honestly, folks, the way that these it's every year I have one game where these numbers are just not explainable. And this is just one of those games. Now, and I can't figure it out. I don't know what it is with this game. Texas did have an explosive play ran on them, like a very explosive play. To be honest with you, Wyoming was a pretty efficient team, actually running the ball. Texas played an outstanding defense of game. The defensive line kind of shored themselves up there in the second half. The first half, they were a little bit shaky. It seemed like the folks in Wyoming were running the ball over them, kind of like at will, to be honest with you. They're popping off runs pretty easily. But it's good to see that the defense kind of regrouped there. We got some sacks there as well here in this game. We had one sack. That sack was by Baron Sorrell. So I honestly thought this was going to be a game where we had more sacks. We did have one pick too as well, which was Jaron Thompson. And only 3 penalties this game. You want that to be, just limited as much. But we had 3 this game, and we had 4 tackles for loss, kind of consistent with the rest of the season here. And we only allowed 1 TD. But like I said, Wyoming did march the ball in between the 20s pretty well. But our defense kind of stood pat there. But this is weird. That number is weird, folks. This is one of those games that's just not explainable. However, but look here for the season, we're right around like 59 points there, which is great. The SPR for the defense, folks, is 58% for the season. For this game, we're at 53%, which is the lowest that we've had here this season. We were more successful against Bama and also Rice. Maybe it was the unexpected with the backup quarterback, actually playing and not seeing him on film and just kind of basically preparing for the first string guy. But look here, the defense has only allowed 4 touchdowns, folks. So we're looking at this defense is on average to allow only 15, touchdowns here for the season. If all this stands true, which would be awesome. And we've had 11 tackles for loss here for the season so far too, as well. 8 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 5 interceptions. We're already halfway there from what we had last year. Shout out to Jaron Thompson for getting that pick 6. And we've had 1 fourth down stop this year and 4 penalties total this year for the defense, which is really good. So really good, really disciplined plan. So we'll talk more about the defense here in a minute, but let's take a look at the successful play rate for the offensive side of the ball. So the SPR, which is the successful play rate, Texas had 30 rushing plays. 14 of those were successful in nature. And 22 passing plays, 9 were successful in nature. So a total of 23 successful plays. Our successful play rate for rushing was the highest that we've had this season at 47%. And our SPR for passing was the second highest that we've had this season at around 41%. And I honestly think this is what probably pushed that number up for the NCN total, because it does take a heavy look at the SPR. And look, our SPR here for the season for this game was the highest that we've had pretty much all season. So kudos to this team, man. They're doing great things. Our SPR for the season so far is 41%, which needs to get better. 47% last year and 45% from the previous year. This has to be at, higher than this, folks. I know we had the Bama game, but having Rice on our schedule and also Wyoming, and I understand Rice and Wyoming are probably better teams, than what we've seen in the previous few years as far as the actual G5 competition. Wyoming they were 2-0. They beat Texas Tech. And then Rice, they beat the crap out of U of H. So, that Rice game might have been a little bit more difficult than we gave it credit for. But great win here by Texas. I still think it was a C-plus game by Texas, but they were able to get the win with a C-plus game. Now, folks, let's take a look at the XPR, the explosive play rate. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't recall seeing a deep shot pretty much all night. I watched the film one time this morning, but I don't recall seeing a deep shot all night. But looking at the XPR for rushing here for this game against Wyoming. Let's take a look. We had two XPs for rushing, so two explosive rushing plays, which are plays that are 15 yards or more in the rushing game out of 30 rushes, which gives us an XPR rate of about 6.7%. Now, in the passing game, we had 22 passing plays, one explosive play. That was really just like a bubble screen play, just a play after Worthy, and Worthy did all the work on that one. That was all. So that wasn't a bomb. That was just a X-Men go out there and get it. So the explosive play rate for this game was 5.8%. So explosive play yards rushing was 81 yards, right? Which is, I think 61 of those were for the Jonathan Brooks play. We had 195 total rushing yards. So the average yards per explosive play was 40.5, but look here, mainly most of that was at 61 yards from Jonathan Brooks. Now, as far as the explosive play rushing yards rate, 41.5% of our 41.5% of our rushing yards were explosive plays, rushing yards in nature, right? So, so basically, almost half of our rushing yards were explosive plays. For the passing yards, so the XP for the passing yards, 44. That was the Xavier Worthy play, out of 131 passing yards, folks, which is 33.6% of the passing yards were explosive play yards, and honestly, those were yards generated strictly by Xavier Worthy, not by Quinn. So those are things that we have to look at too. But explosive play total yards 125 out of 326. So our yards per XP were 41.67 yards per XP, which is explosive plays. And this was our lowest explosive play rate for total yards here for the season at 38%, compared to 50% for the Bama game and 45% for the Rice game. So our lowest XP rate here for total yards for the game, just compared to the previous games. Now, if I take a look at, just what we have here for the season, right? For the season, we're looking at six SPs rushing out of 101 attempts, 11 explosive passing plays out of 97 attempts. The XP rushing yards, so XP here for rushing is at 5.9%. Last year and the year before last is Bijan and Rojo show, so 8.76% for last year, and the previous year 8.2%. And the explosive play rate for passing so far this year is at 11%, which is the lowest that we've had in Sark's 3 years here. The Casey Thompson year was almost 17% at 16.67%. Last year was Quinn's first year at 12.06%. This year we're at 11.3%, extremely low. We got to get that back up. And as far as the XPR total, it's at its lowest here also. So it's a steady decline, 12.13%, 10.34% for last year, and then 8.6%. But look, things are getting better. I mean, look, we've got the lowest XPR rate, so the lowest amount of explosive plays. I think our offense is showing that now we're 3-0. We beat Bama, we beat Rice, we beat Wyoming, and our defense is much more showed up. And I think our offense is starting to try to find something, but we've got to be more efficient there in the first half. It's funny because the previous 2 seasons, the first half was our stuff, right? We were really good in the first half. A lot of great play designs, a lot of great script in that first half. The second half, it was hard for this team to make adjustments. This year, it seems like this team is making great adjustments and it's coming on in the second half. I would rather have the team come on in the second half to be great in the first half, but honestly, I would rather have just a complete game. So can we just have a complete game? But look, I will say this. I'm happy about the win. Good win by the Longhorns. So, folks, let's take a look at running backs. So let's take a look at Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks had a hell of a game, folks. He's our feature back for this game. since Cedric Baxter was out. Brooks balled out. So far, I think he's been our most efficient running back that we've had here in the team. His NCN rushing number is 66.92, which leads the team, actually. 21 rushes this game for 164 yards at 7.81 yards per attempt. 5 first down. So his first down clip, folks, has been at right around 24%. So basically, every fourth play is getting the first down, which is, kind of what you want to see too as well. Is you want to make sure, honestly, that number, you want it to be around 33%. So every third time a running back's touching the ball, he's getting the first down. So you can literally hand the ball to your running back 3 straight times, first, second, and third down, and get a first down. He's getting that once every 4 plays, which is still fine though, at 0.24%. So all good. All right. So rushing TDs. He had no TDs in this game. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. He had 2 explosive plays, one for 61 yards, and I think the other one was for like 20 yards or something like that. So his explosive play rate, folks, for this season is 9.5% for this game. And I think for the season, Brooks is at, let's take a look at what Brooks at for the season. He's at 6.3%, which is lower than what he's used to having for the previous years. But look, we'll take that, almost 10%. So 1 out of every 10 plays is an explosive play for him. That's pretty damn good for a running back. And out of those carries, 10 of his carries were successful in nature, folks. That means he had a successful play rate, folks, of 48%, basically. So nearly half of the time he touched the ball, that was a successful play, which was great. And he didn't have any targets and any reception. So I won't go into that. Brooks is having a really sneaky good season right now, especially him being not the chosen one this year. He's our second back. But one thing Brooks has to get better at is catching the ball. We understand that. But as far as rushing the ball, man, a 60.49, which is outstanding for a running back. So 48 attempts so far this year, 273 yards. And 5.69 yards per carry. And that's factoring a game against Bama, probably one of the tougher defenses that he's going to have to go against. Having 11 first down, so a first down per attempt rate about 23%. I'm telling you, folks, this number is going to go, up quite a bit because I think the talent level in the Big 12 is going to be a little bit bad this year. And I think he's going to be able to rush pretty well this year. So only 1 touchdown this year, but it is what it is. But yeah, he's been doing really good this year. As far as explosive plays, he has 3 of them. He had 2 against Wyoming and 1 against Rice. But his explosive play rate per attempt is 6.3%. 23 successful plays, so a SP rate of like right around 48%. So really good on Jonathan Brooks. No fumbles, just a good game by him. You gotta love it. Next guy I want to talk about, folks, as far as running backs is. We'll take a look at Jaden Blue. I won't go too much in depth because these are only 2 guys that really got a lot of snaps at running back. And I wouldn't say a lot because Jaden Blue had a costly fumble. And you see, this brought his number down to -63 because he only had 5 carries for 14 yards at 2.8 yards per attempt. 1 first down out of those 5 carries, no explosive plays, and he had a lost fumble. So that hurts. That brings that number down significantly. But even with those numbers there, I don't think that number would have been roughly 10, maybe 12. Those numbers just aren't great. So, it is what it is on this one. We got a lot of season left. I like Jaden Blue's game, but you can tell after that he got pulled from the game and no fumbles, especially at that time. Texas was in a position to go up probably 38-10, make that score look a little bit better than what it was. But look, this is a learning lesson. You play against Wyoming. The team didn't play the best that they possibly could, and they still won. So this is a great learning lesson for this team. Now, folks, I want to get into the receivers. Let's look A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell for this game. I got a 19.03 because he had a drop. And that hurt him a lot. I think prior to the drop is right around 40 points. Average is around 45 points for a season, but he was 3 for 4 for 30 yards, at 10 yards per reception. 2 first downs in the game out of those 3 catches, but he had a big-time drop and no explosive plays, no touchdowns. So not the best game for him at 19.03, but not a lot of attempts either for this game. But look here, for the season, he's leading all Texas receivers for the season at 59.51, having a catch percentage of 60%, 134 yards, 8 first downs out of those 9 catches at a 89% rate, 3 touchdowns out of those 9 receptions at a 33% TD per reception rate, and 2 explosive plays out of those 9, folks. With 2 out of 9 gives him a rate of 22% at the time he catches the ball. They're explosive plays when he plays in the passing game that are more than 20 yards. And 9 out of 9 catches were successful. So he has 9 catches and 9 successful plays, 100% successful play rate. It's exactly what you want out of a wide receiver. Every time he touches that ball, you want it to be a successful catch, meaning it is positive yardage in the right manner. You look like to get that first down. If 80 doesn't have this drop, that number's up to 40, and this number that he has here for the season is probably like 65 or 70 points. But it is what it is. Texas wins the game. 80 Mitchell's going to have a big season. Let's take a look at. Let's see. Where's my boy? Whittington. So Whittington also had a drop. Wasn't his best game either. Had a drop. Only had 3 targets, 1 reception, 14 yards, 1 first down, no explosive plays, and a drop. That hurt him. The drop got him at -12. But even with the drop, I think it was he was like 14 or 15 points. For the season, his numbers at 28.45. Look, folks, it's going to be fine. These numbers are going to regress to the mean here soon once you get in the Big 12 play. They get continuity with each other. They figure out the roles just a little bit better. They're going to get better. Look, you got to have full confidence in what we see out of Whittington. Whittington's a hell of a wide receiver, man. He's going to be just fine. So this is one thing I'm really not worried about. But the main guy here was X-Man. So if I look at X-Man, Xavier Worthy. Let's see. Here you go. Xavier Worthy against Wyoming. So 45 is average. He was definitely above average at 50.09 against Wyoming. 6 targets, 4 receptions, folks, 56 yards. A lot of those yards came from that first down and that explosive play and that touchdown. He only had 1 play that was explosive. So you're looking at that 1 play was 44 yards. So the other 8 yards that he got were just regular catches. Was what it was. But that was an explosive play for a touchdown, 50.09 points for the NCM receiving. So he is our playmaker. He's probably the fastest guy in the team. This is a guy that's probably only going to be here this year, and he's going to get drafted next year for the draft in 2024. And enjoying why he's here at Longhorns. I don't think Xavier Worthy is going to be here too much longer. But I tell you what, he's an awesome player and an awesome talent. And he makes things look really easy. Not only can he run fast, but the rate at which he decelerates is just truly outstanding. So we saw that, quite a bit here for the team this year and also in this previous game. And his punt returns. Punt returns are amazing. I would love to see what he can do on kickoff returns if need be, like in a special situation. But yeah, him in the punt return game is outstanding. And he had one where he almost broke it. But look, it is what it is. You gotta love Xavier Worthy's game. I want to talk about JT Sanders, folks, because JT Sanders didn't have any catches this game, right? The only person who did have a catch from a tight end position was Gunnar Helm, and I was screaming for him to get a touchdown. I was like, "Come on, get a touchdown!" I was screaming for it. I wanted that touchdown for Helm because sometimes he just gets overlooked. So he had the 1 target. I'm sorry, he had the 1 catch on 2 targets for 35.26, 14 yards, a first down, and a successful play. So 14 yards. Look, wasn't much, but his duty in the blocking game is really good. You got to love what you see out of Gunnar Helm too as well. I can't wait to see what this offense is going to look like with him next year. Him and whoever else they decide to start next to him as the 2 starting tight ends. But yeah, he's definitely a good player. This is a guy that I always root for, and I was really rooting for that touchdown for him. I was rooting for it. Gunnar, I was rooting for your first touchdown in a Texas uniform. I wanted it bad, just for you. But there it is, folks. Now, let's take a look at Quinn's numbers, and then I think we'll kind of back up out of here. Quinn's numbers, folks, if we take a look at what he has done here for the game against Wyoming, 22 attempts, folks, 11 completions out of those 22 attempts. 131 passing yards, 5.95 yards per attempt, and 11.91 yards per completion. Not the best numbers. 2 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown rushing. His TD per completion percentage was 18%, so far the highest that he's had this year. And his TD per attempt also was 9.1%, second highest of the career, right behind Rice. And if we take a look at what he's done in this game as far as successful plays, no interceptions. He's been pretty clean this year, so no picks this year. He had 1 explosive play in this game. That was the worthy play that went for 40-plus yards, and 9 successful plays this game as far as the completions. 11 completions, 9 of those were successful for 82% successful play per completion rate. For the season, Quinn is not doing bad either, at all. He's best in his numbers here for yards per completion by a full yard. He is, let's take a look at his TD per completion is up to almost 15% compared to 9% for last year. And also, let's look, he has no picks this year, so a 0% INT per completion rate, which is what we want. It's not going to wood for that. And he has 11 explosive plays, 20.4% this year, 20.9%. So pretty much exactly what we had last year. And the explosive play per attempt, 12% to basically like 11.84, so 12% again. And that's pretty much it, man. His successful plays, he's right around 72% this year. Last year was at 78%. So he's been he's been pretty consistent. I wouldn't say average. Average is the wrong word. Pretty consistent here from that previous year. He had a great game against Alabama last game. I would have loved to seen that kind of a game again. But look here, folks. These are games that Texas has to look at and say, you know what, man? We won the game. Sometimes the stats aren't going to be the best. It is what it is. Let's take this as a win and let's keep it moving. And that's what Texas did. So no matter how Texas did it, no matter how ugly it was or how pretty it was, Texas got the W in this game. Texas has gone up now to number 3 in the polls. Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2, and Texas number 3. Now Texas starts Big 12 play here. We play Baylor here on Saturday. I think it's going to be an outstanding game. I want Texas to dominate the lines. Oh, and talking about the lines, man, prayers up to Cole Hudson. Don't know what the issue is there, whether it's going to be a season ending or how many games, but it didn't look good. We'll probably hear something in Stark's his press conference tomorrow, his after action, talks, with the media. So hopefully Cole Hudson is healthy. Hopefully is fine. We need him to win. He's one of those essential parts of his team. Him and DJ Campbell have been playing really well off of each other, and I tell you what, it's been beautiful to see them blocking and doing great things. Swapping in and out. So, and you can tell the staff has very big plans for Cole Hudson, and I hate to see when players get injured because it just slows their progression down, and also it's just not good to see somebody get hurt, man. But prayers up for Cole Hudson. Hopefully he's doing fine and well, and hopefully that these X-rays come out negative and nothing's really wrong and nothing structural is wrong, and he's good to go. But if not, then we got DJ Campbell to start at the right guard position. I got to check to see who's the backup for Campbell. But we have DJ Campbell, a 5-star guy, and it's time that, these players grew up and they got to step up and do great things. And we have all the confidence that they can do great things. But folks, that is what happened in this game, man. Texas beats Wyoming to the score, folks, of 31-10. Was it the prettiest game? No. Was it a pretty sloppy game? I wouldn't say it was a sloppy game, but it wasn't the prettiest game. But Texas came in with a W, and that's all that matters. Playing, I think, a C-plus game. But a couple players want to shout out. Barron, outstanding game from Barron. He is probably our best defensive back there, man. Outstanding game. Sweat, another great game by him as well. Barron's real. I see you getting that sack. Anthony Hill, he's going to be a monster. This is what it is. We understand what we got here with him. He's outstanding. Who else played very well? If I just put, of course, Brooks played outstanding. Just the team in general. Jalen Ford played well also. It was a great team effort. Byron Murphy's one of my favorite players in the team. So Murph Dog is really good, man. He's definitely playing himself into a guy who's probably going to get drafted this year. And so, look, man, outstanding play all around from the defensive side of the ball. The offensive line is still looking like they're clicking pretty well. Not hearing Kelvin Banks' name a lot, which is great, which means that he's handling business over there and not allowing sacks and not getting penalties, which is great. So that lets you know that that left side of the line is fortified with him and Hayden Conner over there. But folks, that's all I got for this episode. Let me know what you guys think. How impressed were you with this game? If you were, leave a comment. If you weren't, leave a comment. It just is what it is. But look, we're number 3, folks. We're number 3 in the country, and we play Baylor next week. But folks, I'm in this podcast like I end all of them. Do you? Don't be afraid to fail. Grow your environment. Understand your brilliance. Horns always up, and Ninos Corner out. Hook 'em.